first of all, um, I, the things that interest me the most about you is your progression from, it sounds like you kind of grew up in a band almost, because you
Yeah,
started so young, and
yeah.
then to where you are now in the industry. And I wonder if you could kind of talk about where you started and how you feel like that shaped where you ended up. And if not, that's also cool.
Oh no, yeah, I'll definitely share that with you. It's a pretty long story, but I'll try and keep it
Okay.
constrained.
So what's your original instrument?
Piano.
Piano. Awesome.
hmm hmm
Um, where did you learn piano?
I learned classically through a Cuban lady in my neighborhood.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and then from there, I learned. That's why I learned the classical skills, and then I learned the Latin skills with my band growing up as a kid.
Amazing.
hmm and then surrounding myself around amazing musicians who were also giving me lessons and just legends talking to me about the music industry and what they went through. Because I didn't go to Brooklyn College for music,
What did you major in?
television and radio
Oh,
communications.
awesome.
Yeah. But while I was in Brooklyn College, I was touring and doing shows and stuff like that. And I remember coming out of high school, I was offered a half scholarship to go to Juilliard, and I didn't take it. Um, I didn't take it, and people said, "You're dumb. You should have taken it." I'm like, well, I'm already surrounded by amazing musicians, and already in a group, and already kind of like in that realm, like working the streets, basically how they say. I was working the streets as a
Hmm.
kid, as a young kid in the music industry, and so I didn't feel like I needed the education from Juilliard to get to where I wanted to go.
And I think, you think about the people who go to Juilliard aren't necessarily they're not creating groups there as much as, you know, making connections, or,
Right.
and you already had those connections, so that makes sense.
hmm
Um, and honestly, it seems like, you know, not to simplify it, but a lot of people who go to Juilliard really just they want to end up on Jazz for Lincoln Center.
Right.
That's where they want, and if they don't get that, then
Yeah. Yeah. But
there's
meanwhile, and not to like sound conceited or anything like that, but meanwhile, I performed at Jazz on Lincoln Center numerous times.
yeah.
I have friends that are musicians with in Winter Marcellus's band. So it's about building connections. At least that's what worked for me.
So within A&E, what exactly, like, what are the choices you're making?
So again, before I mentioned that it's all about relationships, right? Like that's how I got into the business
Hmm.
through my relationships. So with A&E Networks, the way that situation came about was that I had a friend that knew the music supervisor or the vice
Mm.
president of the music department at A&E Networks. And so he said, "Hey, this is Willy Rodriguez. They were looking for more Latin producers for a Latin. They wanted like a Latin Christmas song for one of their TV shows." And so my friend recommended me, and no lie, I had 48 hours to produce a demo, mix it, master it, have it fully done, live instrumentation, and send it back to A&E so I can get on TV. They were in a rush.
Yeah.
So they gave me 48 hours to do all that, and I broke night. But they were so impressed with the work that I did. I didn't care breaking night because I knew what the pay in the long run was going to be. So they liked my work ethic so much, and they liked the music so much that they contracted me for another program. And then I did another one, and then another one, and then it led me to do the Wendy Williams movie, where I had two placements on the Wendy Williams movie on Lifetime. And then now, after we're done with this call, I'm actually working on another project with A&E where it's under the History Channel. And so A&E, the History Channel is under A&E Networks. So now they're testing me again, and they're like, "Okay, Willie, we want to create a Middle Eastern song mixed with hip hop." And I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." And so they said, "Willie, if you do well on this, and the executive producers like this project, the song that you're gonna create, we want to give you the entire series to score." And I'm like, "Let's go for it. Let's
Oh,
do
so
it."
this is like a score. This is a scoring job.
This particular one, this is my first scoring job with them.
Nice.
But normally I'm mostly just I'm part of a production team for A&E Networks.
Got it.
So that's what I do. I don't consult them on anything. They just say, hey, Willie, we need this type of music.
That
Can you
makes sense.
produce it? You know, and I say, yeah. And then that's it. And then I send it in, and, you know, it's great because I get to work with great musicians that are my friends, you know, and I get to pay them as well. Cause, you know, all these songs, they need budgets, right? So I get to pay them, and I get to pay the engineers, all the people that I grew up with in this music industry. Now I'm able to pay it forward and give them jobs. So I'm
That's
grateful
awesome.
for that.
Do you still perform?
I do. Well,
Great.
I mean, because of the pandemic, you know, performances have been kind of limited. But I'll tell you this: during the pandemic, what saved me, production musically, was the fact that I'm able to produce music, and I was producing music from the comfort of my own home. I made more during the pandemic musically than any other year, because I was just doing so much, and not only with A&E Networks, but I also had Splice contact me. I don't know if you guys know about Splice, but it's a production website where you can go if you're a music producer. You can go there and download sampled sounds royalty free. So Splice, you can go to splice.com and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And so Splice contacted me, and they said, well, we like the music that you're creating. Would you like to do a sample pack for us? And a sample pack, I don't know if you guys know what a sample pack is. You guys know?
Yeah. A bunch of samples to use.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I did my first sample pack. It had 330 files in there. And I was able to submit it. They liked it, and now I'm getting royalties off of that. You know, for every download, I get royalties on it. So
that's great.
And then I was able to hook up my client. One of my clients is Derek Wright for the Valens agency. One of my clients is Derek Wright, who's Adele's drummer and musical director. And I was able to get him into Splice as well. So there's just, when it comes to the music industry, and I'm sorry if I feel like I'm all over the place, that there's so much to cover when it comes to my experience in the music industry, because again, I'll be an open book, and you guys can ask me whatever questions you guys want. But when I was in Brooklyn College, I was trying to get an internship at a record label at Atlantic, and nobody was giving me an internship at any record label. And then after I graduated from Brooklyn College, I tried to get more jobs at another job at a record label, and nobody ever hired me. So I said, you know what? If record labels are not gonna hire me, I'm gonna create the position myself and put myself out there. And so here we are. So I with that mentality, I was able to dab into management and production and into stage management and road manager, and kind of see where I would where I would fit in and where I would excel. And what worked for me, and what I realized, is that production and musical directing are my strong suits.
You became a bit of an entrepreneur for yourself.
Right.
Which is at the heart of, obviously music business, and then understanding like, all right, so you're going to go and just create that content and be the talent.
Right.
So
you're not giving me an opportunity. Why not create the opportunity for myself?
I did the same thing, but I was more on the screenwriting side, and I ended up taking my screenplays and I made graphic novels out of them. I hired artists to help me with that, and I ended up doing 4 Kickstarters and being interviewed in USA Today and all that. So I definitely understand that. So anybody in the school of media, like I'm always telling them, you really should advocate for yourself, create your own content, and have all that stuff ready. No matter what, and I may have mentioned this last week, because I came and I spoke with Professor Olson's class, and again, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to create this content for yourself, and everybody is basically in the school of media some type of storyteller, no matter what kind of outlet you're using. And Willy, in your case, like you use music, right? To try to tell stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And then in the meantime, while I'm trying to build myself as a music professional, I went to Brooklyn College, and I majored in television and radio communications. And Michael knows, I've worked for ABC. I was at WWE for 5 years. and they let everybody go. And then now, even with all my great accomplishments in the music industry, I'm still very much involved in television. So now I work for the Yankees, and I work for the Yes Network. But now all my knowledge that I've learned within television and radio and the music industry, now I could put it all in one basket, because now the Yes Network, they recognize that I produce music for A&E Networks, and they're like, well, we need to rebrand the entire company. So can you help us do music for the Yes Network and for the Yankees? And I was like, absolutely. As long as there's no conflict of interest, and understand that it's a separate pay, because now you're contracting me as the Valens agency and not as a Yes Network employee,
That's interesting, right? Because then it's being adaptable. It didn't matter, what area. So I mean, you're doing A&E, and then you're open to doing something for sports for the Yankees, which is adaptability. So, and that's an interesting point you made about like the Valens agency being separate than you as, I guess, what would that be, a separate independent contractor, or?
Yeah, I will be an independent contractor. Yep. Right now I'm an employee of the Yes Network, but if they want music, then they have to hire me as a contractor, because it's two different jobs.
Coming from, the piano and band management, and then like what made you decide to get that, television radio degree, the media degree, and then, and now, I mean, we have some more of the pieces of how you ended up where you are, but then, the things that made these decisions, or helped you make these decisions, or the opportunities that you had. I think that's what fascinates me.
Okay, no, awesome. I'll definitely share it. And again, thank you very much for having me here today. My experience at Brooklyn College was one of the best experiences. It was tough because I live in Washington Heights, so to jump on the 2 train almost every day to go to Brooklyn College was a hassle. And
about then, 2 hours.
Yeah, every single day, almost every single day. But I owe so much to Brooklyn College, and I'm just grateful to be part of this conversation with you guys. So as far as my beginnings, well, I mean, I started playing piano at the age of 3, but I'm not gonna go that far, right? So we're gonna fast forward. So I classically trained with a Cuban lady that lived right around the corner from my house. I live in a very middle income family, and my parents, they love music, right? So they're the reasons why I'm into music now. And so from being classically trained and having that experience, I went to LaGuardia High School of Professional Performing Arts, which exposed me to a numerous amount of musicians and artists and dancers, and where I found my friends and started this band up in Washington Heights, a group of kids from this area that all went to the District 6 in Washington Heights. We said, let's put a band together. We called it Clave Azul, and we did so many performances for the mayor, for Bill Clinton, for Hillary Clinton, for the president of Dominican Republic, for just everybody under the sun. And that is where Pandora's box opened up for me. That is where I learned how to play Latin music, how to roll up a cable, how to hook up speakers, how to work a mixing board, how to work the stage, how to create an effective set list, when you're performing, and what will work and what's not going to work. That was really my school for everything that for my foundation. It's my foundation, basically. And from there, while I was in that group, I graduated from LaGuardia, went to Brooklyn College. Now, in Brooklyn College, the reason why I turned down Juilliard and went to Brooklyn College was because, again, I felt like within LaGuardia High School, I was already learning everything I needed to know. I didn't need a professor at that time teaching me classical music when I already had a classical piano teacher. And then at the same time, I was surrounded by these amazing group of kids and mentors that were already guiding me within the music business. So I said, let me go to Brooklyn College, major in television and radio communications with a minor in marketing, with the hopes that later on down in my life, I'll be able to combine all my experiences with music and TV and marketing and make it into one. And so that's what made, that's how I made my decision to go to Brooklyn College. And in the middle of all that, while I was in Brooklyn College at the age of 19, I was recruited by the Tito Puente. I don't know if you guys know who Tito Puente is. Do you guys know? William? No? Okay, so Tito Puente, if you can look him up, you can Google him up. He passed away, unfortunately, in the year 2000. But Tito Puente he's called the king of mambo music, which is is jazz influenced. There's a lot of there's Latin in there, of course. There's jazz, there's rock. There's a various styles of music within mambo, or various styles marry each other, and then mambo's born. So his son found me and said, "Hey, my father passed away, and I'm looking for a musical director to take over the band and help me share my father's music." So I said, "Sure, no problem. I'll be your musical director." And that was at 19 years old. And here we are. You know, I'm 40 now, and I'm still his musical director. But at the same time, again, Tito Puente Jr. picked me up. I became his MD. I had to quickly learn how to direct that type of music, because it's not your typical band. I mean, we're talking about 17 musicians with, I don't know how many, you know, there's 4 saxes, 3 trombones, 3 trumpets, depending on the situation, vocalists. I mean, directing mambo music is not easy. And so Tito Puente Jr. gave me the opportunity to not only learn about mambo music, but to also direct a legendary artist, like an artist band, like his father's band. So that was that for Tito. But also within Brooklyn College, and Michael, I don't know if you know this or if I told you this before, but I remember taking, I don't know what semester it was, but I was on tour in one semester or 2 semesters. I was on tour with my band, La Excelencia. And so, you know, we would have midterms and finals, and I would be on the plane going to Turkey studying for my finals, you know, and whenever I had a break, I would be studying for my finals and come back and do the final. You know, there was one time where I had to take a midterm while I was in Cyprus, and the professor allowed me to take the midterm while I was out there on tour. So that's why I say I owe so much to Brooklyn College, because
the hustle's real. The hustle is real.
The hustle was real. Yeah. So, you know, there's so many layers to my story that we could be here for hours talking about it. But basically, that's how I got to where I'm at now. While I was in Brooklyn College, the Tito Puente Orchestra, musical director, then became musical director of my band, was able to travel the world and experience life in a way that, you know, not too many people in their 20s experience it. And it really made me see traveling the world. And I encourage all musicians and just everybody, when you have a chance, to just travel so you can experience culture. And to me, the traveling experience opened up my eyes to how much people love Latin music all over the world, and which is what led me to opening the Valens agency. And so, and what helped me open up what inspired me to open up the Valens agency was actually a tour in Haiti that I did, where it was right after a major earthquake that they had. The government, you know, the corrupt government that they have, whatever, we don't have to get into politics, but they contracted my band to go out to Haiti and put smiles on people's faces through music, right? So we went out there, and that was a life-changing moment for me, because given, you know, them going through the earthquake, and given that they went through a hurricane right after that, and the fact that we went out there and that we performed, and they were smiling and dancing. Meanwhile, they were smiling and dancing, but around them, houses were torn down. You know, there was barely any light where we were at. We had a power generator, you know, but the fact that we made them dance and made them feel good, that made me start the Valens agency and say, hey, I want to bring this joy of music all over the world. And here we are.
That's amazing. And then, you know, being able to just take the talent that you have and then be able to create this agency from it. And, you know, you being an entrepreneur and also very, you know, obviously outgoing, traveling the world and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have like, what was did you have like a business plan or a sense of like what the Valent agency was going to be or how it was going to start? And also on the business side, because I know this is very true whenever I meet with students in the School of Visual Media, that they're creative, but they don't necessarily like or they're worried about the business aspect of it. You know, they shy away from the business aspect of it. They're the creator, not so much like the founder of a business. Like, did you have to get consultants, business consultants? Did you do a lot of research? What was that like to form the Valent agency?
To form the Valens, well, at first, when I came up with the Valens agency, I said, okay, well, I want to bring this all over the world. And so how am I going to bring this all over the world? And so the Valens agency started off as a booking agency, you know? And I said, okay, with booking, with all the contacts that I've made all over the world, when the guys would go out, when we would be done with a concert and the guys will go out to get drinks and, you know, talk to the girls or whatever, you know, I did the complete opposite. I was talking to the manager of the club. I was talking to the bartenders, you know, to getting more information about the community and the people that come here. I was, you know, I was just trying to figure it out, you know.
Networking,
Right. I was networking, right. And so that's what led me to start the Valens agency and say, hey, this is going to be a booking agency where I can take all my friends that I grew up with that are in the music world and book them all over the world. But what happens? I found out really quickly that it's not easy when you're dealing with international contracts and, you know, depending on promoters and, you know, there's the shady side of the music business, because we all know the music business doesn't have the best reputation. But at the same time, you get to be, or I get to be, even though the music business is what it is, I still get to be humble, and I still get to be respectful and not be that negative guy that feels a certain type of way about the music industry, which I don't. So it started off as a booking agency. And then I started seeing that there were artists that were saying, hey, Willy, I want you to manage me. And then there was, hey, Willy, I want you to produce me. Hey, Willy, I want you to help me get placements. And I'm like, okay, this is becoming bigger than what I thought it would be. And one of my mentors actually said, Willy, don't just confine yourself to booking. You have all this talent, you know, you have all these resources, put all your resources into one, and that's the Valens agency. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. And so I ran with that. And so that's how the Valens agency now, I manage one artist, and and I still book clients, but now it's evolved into more on the production side, and musical directing. So that's what the Valens agency is right now. So for up and coming and established artists, we provide music production, stage management, artist consultation, and band direction.
That's really great. That's like an entire range of different, because you've lived it. Like, this is what I love about this, is that you took what you learned and your experiences, and then you pulled it all together into this one company that has all these multifaceted things that you can do and help with other people, which is amazing.
Thank you.
It really is. It really is. And then it's like, and then I'm looking at your LinkedIn, because I always wanted to ask you about Bruno Mars, like, because then you build this network, and then you're meeting new people, and then you don't know who those people are connected to, and then all of a sudden you're like, what's that like in terms of like Bruno Mars or like anyone else?
That was fantastic. That experience with Bruno Mars was great. But again, to the students on here, it's who you know. It really is. You know, I'm not one to I'm not a guy that comes across, or at least I don't think I am. I'm not a guy that comes across as like thirsty and hungry and like, you know, I want to work with Bruno Mars. Can you get me to Bruno Mars? I want to work with him. No, it's the relationships that I've built. It's been very, how can I say it? A very lax, I guess, experience, because I met somebody, right? I met an artist. I saw her on Facebook, amazing singer. You know, she was from church. And I'm connecting this to Bruno Mars. She was singing at church, but she wanted to sing pop music, right? Never exposed herself to pop music, always just was part of the church. So she said, Willy, can you help me in producing music? I said, sure. And then she goes, Willy, can you help manage me? I'm like, sure, no problem. I'll help you out. So I helped her out. I told her to take a Bruno Mars song and post it on Instagram to, you know, do the cover. And Bruno Mars ended up seeing it. And then so Bruno Mars ended up flying her out to Los Angeles. And then Bruno Mars asked her, so, you know, what's your story? And then she mentioned me. And she said, well, Willy Rodriguez from New York, he's been helping me out and all this stuff. Bruno Mars and Atlantic Records contracted her as an artist under Atlantic Records. And so when they were looking for producers to work with her, I mean, she was working with some of the top producers in the industry while she was in LA. But for whatever reason, they couldn't capture the sound that she wanted. So she told Bruno directly, I need to fly my friend Willy out here. And so she called me and she said, Willy, Bruno wants you in LA. I said, when? She was like, in 2 days. And I'm like, we're doing this. I called out from work. I was working at, where was I? I was at WWE when this happened. I called out from work for the entire week and I flew out to LA. And that's how the connection with Bruno Mars happened.
That's strike while the iron's hot, right? So, I mean, that's another huge thing in terms of the entertainment media industry, right? Mm-hmm. You see an opportunity, take it, because it's not always going to be there.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
The same thing with French Montana, too.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. With French Montana, yeah. I was friends with his executive producer. And so I was working with him for years. I mean, 10 years, like 12 years. I've known Rick. His name is Rick Steele. Working with him for many years, and not once did I ever tell him. I knew that him and French Montana were really good friends, and Ashanti and Ja Rule and, you know, those artists, because he worked with Irv Gotti at Murder Inc. But not once did I ever tell Rick, hey, put me on. Hey, I want to be on French Montana's album. Can you help me? Not once. I just worked with Rick. Whatever Rick needed, yeah, hey, Willy, can you do this piano line for me? No problem. No pay, for free, for 10 years, over 10 years. Up until Rick Steele said, hey, Willy, you want to jump on this project that I'm doing with French Montana? After a decade of me knowing him. And I said, sure, no problem. And so that's how I was able to get 2 placements with with French Montana. The first one was with French, Kanye West, and Nas. So I'm on that record. It's called Figure It Out. And then the second project with French Montana was his last album. It's called The Paper. So I got that placement.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, you know, when I speak with students and I talk to them about how do you reach out to potential mentors or just grow your network, you know, and I know that sometimes students are like, can I just ask them if they can just get me a job here, or, you know, give me a recommendation or something. But I tell them, you really know that you shouldn't do that, because then you're using them in a sense, you know what I mean? Like, you can't come off in that way. With you, it's like you were passionate about working with him in this way, like, and that was genuine.
Yeah. Not once did I ever say, hey, I want to be on French Montana's album. Not at all. And that's with all my relationships. I mean, now to the point, you know, I have the International Salsa Museum, which is on my LinkedIn. So I don't know if you guys have seen my LinkedIn, William and Shiki, but I'm one of the co-founders of the International Salsa Museum. And so right now around the world, there's not one salsa museum at all, but there's a food museum, there's a drink museum, there's a clothing museum, there's a toy museum, there's a
Pizza
slime.
museum.
You know slime, Nickelodeon, that
Yeah.
green stuff? There's a slime museum. And I'm like, wait a minute, something doesn't feel right. How come there's all these types of museums, but nothing about salsa music? Being that salsa music is as much of Latin culture, of American culture, than it is Latin culture, because salsa music was born in the Bronx. And a lot of people don't really know that. But, you know, because of my relationships that I've built from when I was a kid, 15 years old, all those relationships with Tito Puente Jr., with La India, with all these great Spanish artists, now I'm able to harness all those relationships and say, you know what, guys, let's create a salsa museum. If we don't do it now, this is never going to happen, because salsa music right now is kind of like fading for the younger generation. And so my generation, I would say, is like the last generation that can really do something before the music is lost. And so, and I always tell people, you know, when you lose music, you lose culture, because music and culture, they're one and the same. So yeah, and here we are. Now I have, if you look at the advisory board on the Salsa Museum website, which is internationalsalsamuseum.org, everybody that's on that advisory board, I contacted one by one and spoke to each one of them over an hour on the phone about the importance of Latin music and salsa music, and what it means to have, what it would mean to have a museum of this of this magnitude in New York City. And they all said, yes, Willie, we're with you.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And to work with other people, like-minded individuals that have the same kind of passion. That's the other thing about School of Media, music, art, just when you can kind of collaborate with so many other people that are like-minded. Because look, I'm a generalist here at Magna Center. I've worked here for, I don't want to say how many, it's more than 15 years. But I'm a generalist. I was a generalist for a long time, meaning that I was able to, my passion, of course, was with the School of Media students, right? Because I was a film major. So my passion was School of Media, but then I got to learn how to work with health and nutrition people, accounting, business, like all across the board. And I will tell you this, a lot of those people that are in, and nothing against them, but people in accounting or health and nutrition or the medical industry, they don't think the same way that people in School of Media, creative people do. They're more practical. They're more like, this is what has to be done, done, like that. But when you can meet other people that are creative and talented like you are, that's where inspiration happens. That's where something like this with the International Salsa Museum, perfect example of that. Yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind. When you network and get to meet with people, that's what happens.
Yeah. And also at the same time, and you know, to the students here, you know, one of the things that I always say to people, and I'm glad that I learned this 10 years ago, this few words, right? I learned this. When you master enrollment, you master life. Because when you're moving on in life and you're trying to get to that next chapter in your life, you know, it's you can't do it by yourself. It's an enrollment conversation to whoever it is that you want to speak to about your goals and your career and what you want to accomplish. So once you enroll a group of people into your vision, then, you know, you can do so much, because you've already enrolled them into the vision. They believe in you, they believe in the project, they believe in the process, and they want to help you. So that's one thing that if out of anything that I say here today, if you guys just take that and you master enrollment and you master life, that was so key to me. Like, so that was a big lesson for me.
And Professor Olson, if you have any questions, also please, I don't want to, you know, monopolize all this and things like that. So if you have
I hate to go back to the Valens group to rewind, but to me, so when I look at the Valens group, it seems as though that you sell more of or you're selling an experience, like you're selling a product, obviously, but it's about this experience that you provide. I wonder if, like, can you articulate that experience and like how, you know, when you're talking to, do you like actively reach out to managers, or do people usually reach out to you at this point?
At this point, people, well, it all depends on the situation, on what project it is, right?
Yeah.
So, but right now, I would say that people are reaching out to me more than me reaching out to them. And so every project is different. Every project I attack differently. Um, and every project has its own skill set that you need to bring. But the one common skill set that I use through all projects is being yourself. You know, being yourself, being know what it is that you're doing. You know, you have to know what you're doing, and staying humble, and always have a positive mindset, because again, in this music industry, you know, one is very quick um to like turn their back on you. But if you're respectful, if you're humble, and if you're honest with the people, then it's you know, you're able to tackle any projects. I'm able to tackle any projects that come my way, because I'm always honest up front.
I think it's important. You know, it's easy to sometimes feel, I think, jaded, or like, you know, you've been backstabbed in certain, you know, negotiations and stuff like that. But, you know, keeping that positive mindset keeps you that person that people like to work with. And I think that's
Right.
so important. And, you know, I
So
think,
that, sorry, so
yeah.
it's not only keeping the positive mindset, but at the same time, it's the music business, right? So I
Mhm.
know Michael earlier said that a lot of musicians don't like to deal with the business. But at the end of the day, I always tell musicians, you have to know the business, because this is the world that you're in. You have to know what ASCAP is, BMI. You have to know. You don't have to know contracts or how to read contracts, but if you don't want to read contracts, you better have a good lawyer. You know, so I move humbly, right? But I always give my client a contract. Get the
Mhm.
business out the way first. Like, what are we doing? That's the project. Okay, you want me to produce 5 songs for this budget? Okay, cool. Here are my terms. These are your terms. Let's put it on paper first. You know, get that out the way, and then we're good. So always, yes, I move respectfully and humbly and positive mindset, but always have paperwork ready. Even if it's friends or family, whoever you're doing business with, always have paperwork.
That's great. I just wanted to also point out that it, you know, the way you tell your story, it kind of feels like um, you were in the right place at the right time. You met all the right people. You put yourself in the right place, in the right, you know, in the right places, meeting the right people. And
Mhm.
so it's being able to recognize, you know, those situations that you can build off of. You know, if you're at a fundraising event, you know, meeting as many of those donors and stuff like that, you know, being yourself, being that charismatic person is important in those situations to create the networks that you've created.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's, you know,
One of the things that's not on there, and I'll let you guys know as well, being that this is the music department. Um, I haven't posted it yet. I was told not to mention it yet on social media, but I'm very much involved with the Recording Academy. And so right now I'm co-chairman of the Latin Music Task Force for the Recording Academy. For those, it's ironic to me also that a lot of musicians don't know what the Recording Academy is. Do you guys know? William, Shiki, do you know?
Actually, no.
Oh, you see? So, okay, so let me speak to you about the Recording Academy. You guys can Google it. The Recording Academy are the people that handle the Grammys. So whenever you see the Grammys, that's the Recording Academy. And so I'm class of 2020 for the Recording Academy. What that means is that that's the year that I entered as a voting member. And so it's been a year and a half, I would say, not 2 years. It's been a year and a half. In June, I make 2 years. But I immediately, when I became a member of the Recording Academy, I immediately hit up the New York chapter, the executive director. His name is Nick. I hit him up and I said, hey, I see what the Recording Academy does. I want to be part of the producers and engineers committee. I want to be part of the education committee. I want to be part of the advocacy committee. And so that was immediately after our first meeting, right? So he hits me up and he said, "Hey, Willy, I see that you're in the Latin side of things. We're actually starting a new department, and it's called the Latin Music Task Force. We think that you would be a great person to be a co-chairman of this new, this new department that we're opening up, new committee." And I said, "I would love to." Again, strike while the iron's hot, right? If the opportunity they're giving it to you, take it. If you see that, if it fits, not every opportunity is gonna fit. It has to resonate with your goals, and what you want in life. So I said yes. I'll be co-chairman. So that experience, that opportunity, I announced it already a while ago. But this new one is within a year and a half of me being part of the Recording Academy. It was just announced last week that now I am governor of the New York chapter. It's to be governor of the New York chapter, you're in there with, I'm in there with, there was only 6 seats available out of, I don't know how many thousands of people were mentioned to be, referred to be governors. So I have a seat, as a governor. And so what do you do as a governor at the Recording Academy? What is that? We're able to create policies. We're able to say, hey, we don't like what's going on with Spotify, Apple Music, and all these streaming platforms. Why don't we create a policy amongst us, the Recording Academy, and go down to Washington, D.C. and fight for our rights, fight for our royalties? We're able to do that with the Recording Academy. So for those that don't know about this, William and Shiki, if you didn't know about the Recording Academy, I highly, highly recommend for you guys to check it out. If you really care about music, I mean, clearly you guys are part of the music department, but if you really want to make a difference in the world through music, it's not just the musicality of it, but it's also the business side and how because at the end of the day, it affects you too. If you record an album and you put it out there, you're gonna want royalties. You want to get paid fairly. So with the Recording Academy, you'll be surrounded by people in the industry with the same mindset and the same and that same love for music that can help guide you and boost you up in your career and help you get to that next level.
That's amazing stuff. So congratulations, that's really awesome. And to make a difference in the music industry in that way and kind of help everyone else out. I mean, that's awesome. You wear a lot of hats. That's why you get a lot of credit.
I don't wear a physical hat. I never wear physical hats, but I have a lot of hats.
Well, that was something I was going to ask too, in terms of like the students, in terms of what could they be doing right now to make themselves competitive or to help in their job search, or if it's separate, or they go on interviews. I mean, what could they do right now to kind of make themselves competitive? I would think that joining organizations or being a part of as many kind of groups as possible would be one way to do it. Yeah.
I would say that the big thing is it's just networking. That's what it is. And for me, what I find a great tool, and Michael, I'm sure you've spoken about it, Professor Olson, I don't know if you've spoken about it, but LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is such a great tool and such a great platform. And on top of that, not only finding people that interest you on LinkedIn, but there's also another great organization. I don't know if you guys know about it, but it's called APAP. You guys know about APAP? It's APAP. So it's the artist, I forgot the name, what the acronym stands for, but it's Artist Performance something. They are fantastic when it comes to performing arts. They are, you guys yourself can go ahead and join. There is a price to pay, is very minimal, but just the amount of network that you'll get there. I mean, you have organizations like Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, all these various art organizations are a part of this. It's a community of musicians and artists that care about music and performance. So surrounding yourselves and communicating with a lot of those people and going to the APAP events, I think are one of the crucial organizations that any artist that's out there should be involved with. It's all networking. It's all who you know. That's the best answer I can really give you. Because that's what's worked for me.
Yeah, if I could add, Willie is very active on LinkedIn. I would suggest look at his LinkedIn profile. He's made it very visual, obviously linking to articles and whatnot, photos from events. This is how you optimize your LinkedIn profile. I tell students this all the time, especially students in School of Vision Media across the board. Try to make you, and even in marketing, try to make your LinkedIn profile be very visual, dynamic, links to stuff, photos. Look at mine too. I've tried to do that with mine as well. So I would highly suggest that. That's one. Two, in terms of reaching out to potential mentors, I do have a PowerPoint I'll share with Professor Olson. You can share with everyone. I could put it here in the chat too. It's a PowerPoint presentation about how to effectively reach out to potential mentors. Doesn't have to be just alumni, just mentors in general. Okay, so Willy's very active on LinkedIn. So one of the things that you could do to stay on the radar of somebody who's a potential mentor, right? Maybe you had a conversation with them, but how do you kind of stay on the radar? How do you not like bother them too much, but you're there and just, you can comment on the things that they post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to do that without like emailing them every week saying, hey, did you see what I did? Or what are you up to? It's like, yo, chill, right? So it's more like comment on what they're doing on LinkedIn. That's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also look at before you go to a stranger, right?
Yeah.
Look at within your circle. Who within your circle, whether it's a professor at Brooklyn College or a professor outside of Brooklyn College, or people that you dealt with in the music industry that you're like, I like how they work. I like how they move. I know them. I already have a relationship with them. So why not me ask them if they could be my mentor? I have two mentors that are personal friends of mine, and I'm proud to call them my mentors. And these two guys, one of them is the manager of Sergio George. His name is Peter Robles. Sergio George is Mark Anthony. I don't know if you guys know who Mark Anthony is, but Mark Anthony is a big salsa, like Latin artist. He was married to J-Lo. I guess that's the best way I could put it out there. But so Peter Robles manages the producer that works with Mark Anthony, and he's a good friend of mine. And then my other mentor is his name is, they call him Lucky Church, but his name is Walter. And he's a personal friend of mine, but he's a publicist, So with on the management side, I have a mentor on the music management side, but I also have a mentor on the public relations side as well. And he's been very instrumental in my career. And he also manages me too as well. So, start with your circle and then branch out.
Cool.
I think, hearing you have two important mentors in your life and that you mentor others. Maybe, if you could share the best advice you've had and the best advice you feel like you give when people ask for it.
The best advice that I've had
that you've had given to you, and then the best advice that you give, or the advice that you think is important for, young generations to hear.
Okay. Well, the best advice I received was master, you master enrollment, you master life. But then also another great advice that I received from my mentors and that I give to people is, when you meet people, they're not always gonna, you're gonna come up to them very excited with your vision and with your project and wanting to help, and but one important thing that I have taken out of, or that I've learned within the business, is you have to meet people where they are, because not everybody's going to be at your level, and not that I'm better than anybody, but people approach things differently. I'm not better than anybody. I never say that I'm better than anybody. You got to meet people where they are, and there's always room for growth, right? So if you go up to a person and they don't seem as interested after you asking them like 3 times, just let them go. That's where they are. They don't want to partake in whatever your vision is, not to feel bad about it, but that's not what they want to do. So it's okay. You move on to something else and enroll somebody that understands your vision and they will support you. Also the same thing with artists. If you're a music producer and you have an artist and you're trying to push them to get that note, and hit that high note, or to get that certain note on a keyboard or that certain chord, and they just can't get it. You could teach them, but if they still don't get it, then you got to meet them where they are. You can't force it, because then when you force it is when they start they start getting resentment and say, why is this guy pushing me so hard? I don't want to go that route. I don't want to go that direction. I don't want to do what he's telling me to do. And that's okay, you know? So in other words, meet them where they are and know when to stop. You feel it. I don't know. For me, I'm big on energy. So I just feel that energy, you know, when somebody's just giving me that, you know, that look like, okay, I don't want to deal with you. Okay, fine, no problem. I'll work with somebody that wants to. So I don't know if that was, you know, there's so many life lessons, but that's one. Those are the ones that stick out for me right now.
I think that's great. It's funny. It's very much like you have like that jazzer approach of you know, in the classical world, so many people are so organized and want everything to work exactly how they want it to work. But I think you're right. You know, meeting people where they're at. You know, not forcing results, and instead, you know, kind of creating results.
And the other one is the other and the other one is, and this is a big one, and this is just life in general. And you guys probably know this, and if nobody has told you, I'll tell you now. It will never look like the way you wanted it to look. You know, years ago I said I'm gonna start a music program. This was like over 10 years ago. I said I was gonna do that, and I tried, and it never happened up until now with the International Salsa Museum, where I'm establishing a music program. I never thought it was gonna look like this. I knew I wanted a program, but I had no idea I was going to team up with NYPD and get the Ron Carter Foundation and all these other organizations involved in this music program. So drop expectations, or not to drop expectations, because you have to have a level of expectation, but don't expect it to look the way you want it to look. Because the way you want it to look, however it happens, it might be better than whatever you expected it to look. So if that makes any sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because I think in the past, maybe when we look at like our, you know, the generations before us, there were career paths that were much more linear, of you took these steps and that got you to this place in the music industry, like in the recording industry and whatnot. But today's entrepreneurial musician really is, you know, creating different opportunities, you know, and those opportunities, they change, you know, and also our own feelings about what like sector we're in might change a little bit. And you want to add, you know, you went from being management into like high production, and, you know, and that's great that you're able to pivot because you have these skills. And I think another thing that, you know, strikes me about a lesson from you is amassing skills, like amassing as many skills as you can so that you can be as flexible as you can, because you strike me as an incredibly flexible human as well, as talented.
Thank you. And you hit it right on the money there, literally right on the money. As a musician, you have to be as flexible as possible. Because again, when the pandemic hit, you know, a lot of my musician friends were calling me saying, hey, Willy, if you need a trumpet player, let me know. You know, oh, hey, Willy, if you need a guitar player, I'm here. And so what I told my friends was, I said, yeah, no problem, on the phone. No problem. Yes, I have a few projects coming up. I might need you. But why don't you know, do you know how to work Logic? Do you know how to work Pro Tools? Do you know how to use a MIDI controller? You know, do you know how to do production? No, I don't know how to use Logic. What is that? And I'm like, oh my God, you don't know what Logic is. Okay, let me coach you. And so what I learned through the pandemic is that you have to be super flexible. If it wasn't for my production skills, I would have made $0 during the pandemic. But because I had these production skills, you know, I was able to adapt. And at the same time, like I said before, hire my friends. Yeah, I'll hire you to be my trumpet player, and I'll hire you to be my guitar player. But at the same time, I'm gonna teach you how to work Logic. You know, because if another pandemic happens 20 years from now, you'll be ready.
Also, Logic is so user friendly.
Yes, it is.
It's so user friendly.
It
You
is
should be
better
able
than
to.
Pro Tools. I mean, Pro Tools is a standard, but Logic is just more user friendly than Pro Tools.
And honestly, Logic keeps adding better and better features, and you can keep adding on, your own, add-ons that allows you to almost get to that Pro Tools level. Yet, Pro Tools still has a finish that sounds different. But
yes, agreed. At the end of the day, it all ends up in Logic. I mean, it all ends up in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So.
Yeah, I think, what, not to just say what's next, but like, how do you see yourself developing? Like, do you see yourself going further into one direction, or getting pulled into more media? Like, what do you feel like your career is going, just out of interest?
That's a very interesting question there, because I feel like my career is going in two different directions. Well, not different. It's all the same path. It's all music related. But here with the International Salsa Museum, all my dreams, all my goals, everything I've ever wanted to do in the life of music, in the business of music, I'm able to accomplish it with the Salsa Museum. So where do I see my career going or my legacy? I want to say my legacy, right? I feel like this museum is going to be my legacy, along with my business partners and everybody else's legacy, because it's not just going to be your typical museum like the Natural History Museum, where you go in and you see the same elephant since you were in first grade, or the same whale that's been there since like before you were even born. Nothing against the Natural History Museum. I love you guys. It's a great place to hang out. But this particular museum is going to be a place where people can come and learn about Tito Puente, Celia Cruz, Hector Lavoe, all the Spanish, all the Latin greats, and all the musicians that have contributed, and artists and producers and engineers and record executives that have contributed to the world of salsa music. That's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is the music programs that we're going to have in there, because we're going to have a state-of-the-art recording studio. We're going to have a robust music program where we have legends and people that are already in the fields, the musicians of Mark Anthony and Gilberto Santa Rosa and all these great jazz musicians and masters. They're going to be able to come to the Salsa Museum and give lessons, master classes, at a very discounted rate. On top of that, we're going to have film production. We're going to have podcasting studios. We're going to have financial literacy. We're going to teach the kids and the youth how to start their own record labels, how to market, promote. So it's all these things in one, what the Valens Agency is already doing. I'm already doing production on the Valens Agency. I'm already doing stage management and all that. So all those lessons that I've learned throughout my entire life, we're going to teach it at the International Salsa Museum. Because right now, I don't know an institution, and you guys can, if you guys can tell me yes or no, I don't know. But I don't think like Berkeley or Juilliard, or I don't know if Brooklyn College teaches it, but like stage management and sound production and, how to start your own record labels. I don't know many institutions that have everything of what it takes to be a true artist. I don't know many institutions that do that.
I think you see a lot of pieces here and there. I think like what you're talking about, but maybe not all in one place, or a lot of what I've, like, I think you could at Brooklyn College get all those pieces, but you'd be jumping between different departments. Right. And you're not necessarily, it's not this, here's a course load that makes everything very clear. You'd have to know what to pick out and how to jump between stuff. And so I think you're very much hitting a need on the head. What?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nail on the whatever.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like I've learned in this business, especially if you're a solo artist, and I always tell this to my female artists, right? I always say, it's important, even though like the music industry, you know, we don't have to go into details about the politics with females and the music industry and how it is, how harder it is for females to really get recognition. But what I find fascinating is when I see a female that knows what she's talking about when it comes to the music business, when it comes to her artistry, when it comes to the production, you know, the EQ and the filters and compressors, and then talking about, and then going on stage and taking over the stage and managing the stage and knowing exactly what she wants. So I always tell artists, not just females, but I always tell all the artists, you know, if you're your own, if you are an artist, it's good to know, you don't have to know everything, but know the basics of what it takes to put on a great show. You know, it's not just you performing, it's the back end stuff, it's the contracts, it's the stage setup, it's the how you want your sound to, how you want it to sound. You know, it's good. That's why, and people will say, oh yeah, but that's why you have a manager. Yeah, a manager handles all that stuff. Cool. But this is your own product. Like this is you. So you want it to look a certain type of way. And so, you know, tell your manager what you want and then let him delegate. You
Yeah.
know, let him be the bad guy.
And you know, I'm more versed in the classical world, and classical management kind of wants the artists to start taking more, you know, more charge of the projects, and you know, having the project ideas, having the kind of and they're really looking at a more of a booking and a networking on that end. And you know, it strikes me as if you don't know this stuff, you could, you know, just find friends in the business who have shows and just go sit and observe the setup and observe the stage crew, talk to the stage crew, talk to the production, because you know all their experiences are so different, and you know, it's like knowing each part, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't have to know, you don't have to be a master at every little thing.
Yeah.
But just know enough to be able to protect yourself and defend your product, because at the end of the day, you are the artist. And so when stuff goes left, people are not gonna blame the manager. They're gonna say, "Oh, look what Beyonce did. Did you see Beyonce's show? Did you see how bad that was?" Not that Beyonce ever has a bad show, because I haven't seen one, but I'm just saying she is so meticulous with her artistry that you can't put one past her.
You know, I talk about this with classical people. The production level of the modern day, you know, pop star is insane, and like it's so organized and so technical and an incredible experience. That yeah, and just say, you know, the Mariah Carey lip sync slip up, nobody's forgotten it. You know, it'll never die.
No, nobody's gonna talk about the
because-
sound guy.
Yeah.
You know, they're talking about how Mariah messed up.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, and a lot of, you know, when we're talking about, you know, beyond, I don't know if this is gonna be off topic.
Okay.
But that level of, you know, creating these experience. I mean, I think as a musician, as a performer, you know, what we're trying to do is create experiences that go right into your what would you say you called it, enrollment. And it makes me think of it's Marketing Secrets of the Grateful Dead. I think it's a book where they talk about, you know, what are we trying to do? We're trying to create a one-of-a-kind experience, you know, a unique experience that you can only get with this product, you know. And I think, you know, the salsa, going to the salsa museum is what I was thinking, is that, you know, if you have this product, this one-stop shop, you know, you're creating this experience that, you know, is not being replicated. It's very valuable, you know. And those are the kind of experiences I think that, you know, as an entrepreneur, we should be thinking about.
Yeah. And again, the reason why I bring up why I want to have, you know, why I want all these things in the museum is because when, again, going back to my teenage years, when I was part of that teenage band, like I said, that was my foundation. And in that band, I learned everything from stage management to how to roll up a cable the right way. You know, what's a 1/4-inch cable? What's an XLR cable? What are RCA cables? You know, what amps go well with this speaker? Like I learned all these things, and I was a teenager. And to this very day, I still use a lot of those lessons when I was a kid, and I'm passing it forward. You know, paying it forward. So at the museum, I want the youth, and even when we partner up with universities, because that's the other thing, we're going to partner up with universities. So the Berkeleys and hopefully Brooklyn College, right? You guys.
Internships.
Exactly. So we're going to partner up with, so this is not only for the youth, it's going to be for young adults as well, to be part of this amazing program that we're creating at the museum.
Yeah, I think you have a, if you look at the Department of Ed, this is something that, you know, they already have some programs that are you know, like Little Kids Rock or something, you know, and they have, I think they do have a salsa, like a salsa something. It's a traveling salsa like lessons, but it's the I think it's the Department of Special Projects, which is such a weird title.
Yeah, no, I think what you're referring to is there's the All City Latin Jazz Band.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So that happens in Greenpoint.
Yeah. My friend is one of the leaders of that, one of the top guys there.
Oh, nice. But yeah, I think, you know, that's just a very obvious place to go, because it's going to be that, you know, there's a huge, you know, population that I think would be served well with a salsa education.
Yeah. Well, it's not only salsa though, because with salsa comes Latin jazz, jazz itself, rock, because there's so many subgenres within the salsa music. I mean, there's cha-cha-cha, there's son montuno, there's guaguancó, there's guaracha, there's salsa dura, there's salsa romántica, there's mambo. There's so much. Salsa is just the umbrella, you know, the umbrella term that was used mostly for marketing purposes, but there's so many genres underneath it. So, you know, we look to cover all types of music, and not just jazz, not just salsa music. I mean, we're also going to involve hip hop as well, even though it's a salsa museum. If Ableton is the because everybody has their preference, right? So like for me is Logic. But if Ableton is your choice, then just keep learning how to use Ableton and how to manipulate sounds and how to do sound design on it, you know, because I had to do that myself when I created the sample packs for Splice. And so how do you create sample packs? It's pretty tricky. Clearly you need to have your one shots, which is like a one hit, like say it's a snare or a kick, or, you know, but then you also have to create loops of rhythms, right? So basically that's basically what a sample pack is. It's just loops and one hits and grooves and stuff like that. And the way that Splice works is that, you know, it has to be mastered or mixed at a certain level. I can't give too much details because then, you know, I signed an NDA with Splice, so I can't really talk too much about the process of it. But I'll tell you that by you creating your own sounds, whether it's taking an old snare drum or an old kick and filtering it and compressing it and doing whatever to make it your own, and then creating your own music with your own style, and keep on learning Ableton, you know, and then put your music out there, whatever you produce, you know, or go to BeatStars. I don't know if you heard of BeatStars before.
I have not, no.
Okay, so there's BeatStars. There's a few of them, but BeatStars is a producer's platform where you see a whole bunch of producers from all over the world selling their beats. You know, so but you can either put it on BeatStars, or you can you know, share your music amongst your friends and ask for advice. That's one thing that's another thing. Another word of advice there was, whenever I do a production, especially during the beginning of my career when I first started producing, I would always send my music to Rick Steele, who's the guy that French Montana executive producer. So I always send it to him. Hey, listen to this track. What do you feel? What can I do to get better, to make it better? You know, and he would give me advice and pointers, you know? So for you, William, I would say, produce music as much as you can. You're gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna be perfect at first. I mean, Kanye West was the same. All of us are like that. I'm sure, Michael, when you started doing your films, you know, they weren't the best quality,
You have to
right?
start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere and put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to put your music out there. Don't be afraid of judgment, because that's what's gonna hold you back. And the same thing to Shiki, right? Like, don't be afraid of putting your music out there. That's why you're creating it, for the world to hear it. But if you can go on Ableton and create something that you feel in your heart is amazing, put it out and see what, see how the world reacts to it.
Mhm.
And if they react badly, who cares? You go on to
Yeah.
the next one, and work on the next track, because I'll tell you that the first song that I produced on my own on Logic, man, it sucked. But I thought it was the best song ever. I had yes people around me saying, man, Willy, that track sounds hot. That is dope. That's another thing. Don't surround yourself around yes people. In this music industry, or just in life, there's a lot of yes people that'll agree with whatever you say and say, yes, it sounds fantastic, until you send it to a real producer that knows what's up. And they're like, man, this stuff sucks. So surround yourself around people that are going to be honest with you. And again, don't be afraid to take the risk.
Constructive criticism.
Yes.
Look at it like that. It's not like a dig that you're not talented. I had to figure that out myself, honestly. I was writing screenplays that were meant to be for graphic novels, and my artist was like, you're writing way too much dialogue and it's covering up all my artwork. Do you know what you're doing? I'm like, well, I'm figuring it out now. That was a funny interaction. Yeah, so it doesn't matter across all mediums. It's, you just have to be ready to be adaptable. Constructive criticism.
Yeah, and it's funny we're having this conversation now, but I posted a few days ago, actually. I posted on my Instagram. I said, failure is not an option. Failure is a lesson. Failure is not that if you did one bad track, that's not a failure. It's a learning lesson. So that just whatever, all these little nuggets and all these failures, all these projects that we will create and they just bomb, it just makes us stronger. It makes us better for the next one. And that's how you evolve. That's how I got to Bruno Mars, and by just networking. And also, because imagine I would have gotten to Bruno Mars, but my production sucked. I would have probably gotten blackballed in the music industry. That's extreme. That's pretty extreme. But I'm just saying, like, word in this industry travels really fast. So you always want to be ready for the opportunity when it shows up, and always stay hungry, and always want to be able to just learn, because this industry is always changing. I mean, right now, this whole NFT situation, we're all going through this learning process, right? And how NFTs are going to change the world of music.
Are you doing NFTs?
I'm getting into it. Yes.
Can you explain how an NFT of music works? Because I've been trying to figure this out. Is it digital signatures or?
Yeah. So basically, NFT is basically, let's say it's a coding, right? Let's say it's a code that's attached to your artwork, right? So let's say you create an album and you put it out as an NFT. So you're an owner of this piece of work. Right? Let's say Professor Olson's all-time greatest classical hits, right? So you put out this product. There's an NFT. You release it as an NFT. Attached to the NFT, you're creating a package. So it's like, all right, you buy this NFT, and you're gonna have an autograph with a physical CD, a digital project, it's a digital CD itself, a digital form of music itself, along with a T-shirt and tickets to my next concert. So now whoever buys that NFT, they're owning a piece of your project, of your property. So it's like, look at it as, now they're owners. It's like, look at it as stocks. right? So your NFT is a stock. Somebody wants to invest in you, they buy a piece of your stock, and if they want, later on down the line, and that stock goes up in value, goes up or down, depending on how popular you become.
That makes sense. Or
So,
that's nice. I mean, I feel like this could kind of solve the Spotify royalty problems in a way. I don't know. It's but
more artists are turning to NFTs and turning their backs away from the Spotify's and stuff. But look, I'll tell you this: Professor Olson's greatest classical hits. Later on down the line, if you become, when you become this, Yanni, for lack of a better word, or like, if once you become this big artist, now that one stock is worth, let's say $1,000. So the person who owns a piece of your stock, they can go ahead, they can turn around and sell it to somebody for $1,000, and it doesn't affect your piece of royalty. So in a nutshell, that's what an NFT is in the music world.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And multiple people can buy a piece of your stock, not just one. It could be 100 people buying your.
That's what I saw that I feel like I heard that you can set up the NFTs in those. There are different platforms where it's like you can have multiple buyers. You can also have like a single buyer, but on resell you always get a commission. It's hard to, I think for performers it's like, what is the NFT of a performance, but I think what you're saying,
An actual performance, of a physical performance, let's say at Carnegie Hall or something.
or how do you
you can sell your tickets as an NFT.
That is true. There's just something about the digital world of the NFT. It's that abstraction that
Yeah, it's still very, as we know, it's still very brand new, and people are still trying to I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I'm actually, going back to the Recording Academy, I met somebody in the Recording Academy that's starting an NFT record label.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and he already has a staff. Like he has an A&R, and he has a marketing department.
Are these codes unique? Is that's why they're non-fungible, right? They're unique. The codes are unique.
Yeah.
But each T-shirt, each T-shirt be unique or no? It would be the same T-shirt, right?
No, the T-shirt. Let's say the T-shirt is part of the package. So if you buy an NFT, if Professor Olson says, "Okay, guys, I'm putting out this NFT. This is my project. If you buy this project, I'm gonna give you a T-shirt, and I'm gonna give you." It's just a package,
right?
But the T-shirt itself, if you do a digital NFT, if you do a digital T-shirt with this particular NFT, it's not a physical one,
right?
So it's a digital NFT. So you can go ahead and put it on an avatar, because now we're talking about the metaverse, right? So you can go onto the metaverse with your avatar, and they will have your T-shirt on. But they have to pay to have that T-shirt.
It's very similar to what I did with the Kickstarters and the crowdfunding, because each funding, they got different categories of what you would get. So depending on how much money you put in, you got a certain amount of things. Some a little bit different. It's similar to that, but not. This is like the digital level.
Right. So you're buying a digital T-shirt with some digital pants and digital sneakers.
So for all the students that are here and the ones that are going to watch this, this is the next level. You guys should be looking at this, do the research, and then you can tell us when we don't know, because I'm confused. Well, right. I'm getting it sort of, but
yeah, it's all digital marketplace. That's all, But we're all still trying to figure it out. So
okay, well, that's on my next to-do list to research, and so should all of you.
That's a different conversation.
That's gonna be part of the Salsa Museum. You add that in.
Yes.
That curriculum.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. We're dabbing into that. We're looking into how can we get into the NFT world.
You can have a metaverse salsa concerts.
Yes, that is gonna be definitely in the works.
Yeah, I mean, didn't Ariana Grande already did a metaverse
Uh-huh.
concert? Yeah,
I believe Justin Bieber did it too.
yeah. So I mean, it is possible, and it's a great idea. Our class is about to end, and I just wanted to make sure that we got to say thank you so much for coming and sharing
You're welcome.
your experiences and
You're
your
welcome.
wisdom.
I know you're welcome. I hope that I was trying, I wanted to be as open as possible about my experience, and I hope that you guys learned something. And at the same time, every time I speak about my experiences, I learn something new about myself. And so I'm just grateful to again, I'm grateful to be a part of the Brooklyn College alumni, and I'm always here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a message, and however I can be here to support you in your career, I am here. And that goes to all your students, Professor Olson and the music department as well.
Thank you so much. I mean, it means a lot, and I think more of the conservatory needs to be reaching out to alumni and making those connections. So
yeah, and I'm here. I'm always here to just share my experience. Michael said, I've had I've mentored a few Brooklyn College students, and I've recommended a few as well to certain positions, to certain jobs. So I'm here, man.
Willie, you're a trusted alum. You're a trusted alum, somebody that I've been able to rely on. So when Professor Olson had said, you want to come and speak to the students, I said yes. But then I was like, you know what? I know somebody who could probably give some really great advice and is a great entrepreneur. So again, Willie, thank you so much for doing this. I put in the chat for the students, and I can send this to you, Professor Olson. This is the PowerPoint presentation about how to self-initiate outreach to a mentor. To make connections and get that insider info that someone like Willie or someone else can give you is going to help you make an informed decision about your career path. You can even pattern your career path based off of somebody else's kind of experiences and what they've gone through. So that's something everyone should keep in mind. But thank you again, Willie. Thank you, Professor Olson, also for having me and then, having us speak with students.
Make sure to check out the My Career tab on the BC Navigator app, where you can track your career progress based on the amount of credits you've earned, stay updated on upcoming events from the Magner Center, and watch our videos for insight and advice on your career field.